You ever have a day where you go to unlock your own front door and there's a cop standing there, hand resting on his cuffs, telling you to step back, like you're the criminal? Yeah, that happened to me, and let me tell you, the only thing colder than that lock under my fingers was the realization that my own home was betraying me right in front of half the neighborhood. There was smoke in the air, the sweet bite of pine, but all I could really smell was trouble and the irony that my sanctuary was about to become my battlefield. "Sir, step back from the property," Officer Collins says, and his voice drops like an anchor in my gut. He's got that cop tone, the one makes you feel guilty, even if all you did was breathe wrong. I glance through the window, and there she is, Victoria Harrington Pine Valley's self-appointed HOA queen legs, crossed in my wife's reading chair, the same one where Sarah used to sip her morning coffee before cancer started stealing everything except her stubborn streak. Victoria's surrounded by filing cabinets, printers, paperwork, like she's turned my cabin into her own little dictatorship. "Oh, I'm the homeowner," I say, trying to keep my voice steady, but my hands are shaking, betraying everything I lost the day Sarah died. Victoria just stands in the doorway, waving some document around like she's hosting a magic show. "Honey, you signed this lease 3 months ago," she calls out, all fake sweetness, but you can hear the venom right underneath. "Don't you remember? Or is your memory slipping?" She says it loud enough for the neighbors to whisper and pretend not to listen. I know damn well I never signed anything but that signature. It's close enough to mine it makes my skin crawl right down to a little loop Victoria always adds when she's nervous. Officer Collins studies the lease, squinting like he's seen too many property squabbles. "Sir, do you have documentation proving ownership?" My heart's pounding now because, yeah, I've got the deed inside the safe behind a locked door I can't even open anymore. And then Collins hands me a restraining order. 30 days to prove ownership or this place gets sealed. Just like that. The cabin Sarah and I poured our dreams into, the last place she smiled at me, was slipping away in a swirl of forged papers and public humiliation. But that wasn't the worst part. No, the real cruelty was how Victoria wiped out every trace of the life we'd built. Through the window, I could see our wedding photo flipped face down, Sarah's reading lamp gone replaced by a harsh fluorescent light, kitchen counters buried in HOA notices instead of crossword puzzles and Sunday dinners. It was like someone had surgically removed my memories, leaving just the shell. As I signed that restraining order, my mind flashed back to one of Sarah's last lucid days. She gripped my hand, her voice clear for the first time in weeks. "If something ever happens, remember what I taught you about timing." At the time, I thought it was the drugs talking, but standing there watching Victoria claim my life, I wondered if Sarah saw all this coming. Sarah was always the strategist, the chess player, the one who could see trouble before it showed up at the door. She'd spent her final months preparing for things I was too busy, too scared to imagine. Now I was left wondering if I was about to let her down or finally fight back. The drive down the mountain felt like retreat, mile after mile, ticking off the end of a battle I hadn't even started. I'd come home from Denver 2 weeks early, thinking maybe some time in my own bed would help. The grief turns out all I got was a front row seat to my own erasure. The way Victoria moved, the way she smiled, it all reeked of planning, like she'd been waiting for me to be weak enough to crush. If you're watching this, go ahead and drop a comment with your city. I guarantee you got your own HOA story, and I'd bet it's just as messy, maybe worse. The county records office looked like every bad dream about bureaucracy you've ever had. Fluorescent lights buzzing, paperwork piled high, the world's slowest clock. Dorothy, the records clerk, was all friendly until I mentioned Victoria's name. Suddenly she went cold, sliding a folder across the desk. "Amendments filed 6 weeks ago," she said, her tone stiff. Every page was a masterclass in fraud, subtle changes. Official stamps dated months before I even bought the place, watermarks I'd never seen. Whoever did this, and it was obvious who knew their way around both property law and dirty tricks. The more I dug, the worse it got. Victoria's late husband's signature, 3 months after his funeral. That's not a mistake. That's a glitch in the code. And I spent 20 years in software. I know when someone's hacking the system. Still, even I started to doubt my own memory. That's how good the forgery was. So I went to Ruby. She was Sarah's best friend, the kind of neighbor who'll bring over tamales and stay to gossip until sunset. She took one look at me and said, "Mijo, you look terrible," then poured coffee so strong it could wake the dead. Ruby didn't mince words. "That brew has been poisoning this whole valley while you were gone. She's done this before. Remember Wilson Henderson?" Ruby laid it out. "Victoria targets the weak widowers, the sick, the old, then buries them in code violations and HOA threats until they sell or die." But Sarah, she'd seen through Victoria's game and spent her last months collecting notes, making calls, digging up dirt. Right then, my phone buzzed. My daughter Emma, 16, sharp as a tack. "Dad, Grandma says you sound stressed. Mom left something in her safety deposit box for emergencies." That was Sarah always planning 3 moves ahead. Only problem, Emma had to be there to open it, and she couldn't make it for 2 weeks. Ruby squeezed my shoulder. "That girl's got her mama's smarts." "And your wife?" "She asked me to watch for trouble." Turns out Sarah had been fighting a war while I was busy fighting cancer. Back in town, the gossip spread like wildfire. The grocery store cashier barely made eye contact, treated me like I had the plague. At the coffee shop, Margaret practically shouted, "We don't serve people who abandon their dying wives for business trips." That hurt not just because it was a lie, but because those trips kept the insurance going for Sarah's treatment. But Victoria's version of the story, the heartless husband, the greedy widower, that's what stuck. Tom Bradley, the lawyer everyone trusted, told me straight up, "I've heard disturbing things about your behavior." No one wanted to listen, and the harder I tried, the deeper I sank. That night, parked outside my own cabin, watching Victoria hold an HOA meeting in my living room, I finally broke. Called Emma, choked out that maybe I should give up. She stopped me cold. "Mom made me promise to give you something if you ever started giving up." She recorded a video, hid it in your cloud account. Passwords, the date you first told her you loved her. I logged in, hands shaking. There was Sarah's face, thinner, tired, but still sharper than anyone I'd ever met. If you're watching this, Marcus, Victoria's made her move. Stop beating yourself up. I've been preparing for this since the day she started circling. There were folders, journals, photos, notes, even surveillance from a wildlife camera disguised as a birdhouse. Hours of footage, Victoria coming and going, photographing rooms, practicing my signature at our kitchen table. Sarah had mapped out every step. Emma got to Pine Valley on the next bus. Together we opened the deposit box inside a journal so detailed it looked like a prosecutor's playbook. Names, dates, photos, even evidence of Victoria forging documents on camera. Ruby's kitchen became our headquarters, the coffee pot working overtime as neighbors trickled in with their own horror stories. Sudden code violations, mysterious fines, threats that turned to offers to help them sell. Turns out Sarah had predicted all of it. We took everything to the state attorney general, and the FBI got involved. They told me document forgery rings like this usually cross state lines. You may have found the tip of something big. They needed more, though, a recorded confession. That's how I found myself wearing a wire, hands sweaty, pretending to surrender. Victoria waltzed in with her lawyer and 2 goons dressed like she was about to accept an award. She leaned in full of smug confidence and started bragging about how Sarah was the only one who ever gave her trouble about how easy it was to take homes from the grieving and the old. She laid it all out, right there in my living room. You just have to apply the right pressure, get them isolated, make them doubt themselves. The second she threatened me again, "Remember what happened to your windows? The FBI swarmed in. Handcuffs, federal mail fraud, racketeering, the whole deal." Watching Victoria get led away, her lawyer fumbling, her goons running for the hills, felt like the sun finally breaking through months of fog. She still tried to threaten me on her way out. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." But for once, nobody cared. The fallout was huge. Victoria went down for 5 years in federal prison, 12 others arrested, stolen properties returned. Pine Valley actually came together. Neighbors brought casseroles, fixed my windows. Ruby ran the show like a general. Even the folks who turned on me lined up to apologize, including Tom Bradley. Margaret brought lavender lattes and hugged Emma like nothing ever happened. Sarah's last letter said you weren't weak, you were waiting for the right fight. I finally understood. The community even voted me HOA president. And first thing I did was make sure every decision was transparent, every document public. Ruby became community liaison. No more bullying the vulnerable. Cameras went up not just for security, but as a reminder, nobody messes with this neighborhood again. A thank you letter came from Colorado, another HOA fighting the same kind of scam. I realized helping others was how I'd honor Sarah's legacy. Emma's graduation speech quoted her mom, "Find strength in unexpected places. Fight battles worth winning." Watching her say those words from the deck of our rebuilt cabin, surrounded by neighbors who finally got it, I realized love doesn't die, it fights on. You want my advice? Keep records, save emails, talk to your neighbors. Don't let yourself get isolated. And if this story struck a nerve, hit that, like, subscribe, share your story. Tell me if you've ever faced down your own Victoria. Because the real lesson, justice happens when regular folks decide enough is enough. You don't have to be perfect, just brave enough to stand up and document the truth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemy, it's refusing to let them break you. And sometimes, just sometimes, that's how you win.